Hi, I'm back with another review of the Lykke Blush knitting needle sets. This is the 3.5 inch set, and then the large one is 5 inches. I got the large set before the small one because the large one, at that time I was knitting a lot of, what do you call them, the prayer shawls that are the really thick yarn, and a lot of my needles didn't go on for large knitting needle sizes. I had like maybe 3 through 8 and maybe a set of 10.5s, but some yarns required like a 12 or a 13. And the large set has that. See all the needles in there. The large set has 12 sizes. It ranges from US 4 through US 17. 5 cords. You get 2 24s, 2 32s, and 1 40-inch cord, along with the keys and the connectors and the stoppers and all the accessories in it. It's kind of like if you have an Addy set, like where they keep the cords and all that. You would think that it actually is in this front zipper pocket, but that one's really shallow. That's good for like stitch markers, pair of scissors, measuring tape. But they're really in the bottom here. Let me zoom in a little bit. This is where they keep all of the cords, and they're all color coordinated. The pink set has these cool pink cords. You can still use them with the other Lykke cords, the ones that are the black cord. And they're also, you can use Knitter's Pride and Knit Picks cords with them too if you prefer those, or if you have those already. But they're the swivel cords, like Chalgu Spin is a swivel cord, so it doesn't keep getting tangled. It takes a little bit of getting used to if you haven't used them before, but like you can kind of see, maybe if I can actually put it up to the camera, this little thing turns, and you have the little hole in there to tighten it up with. You can get, they make up to a 60-inch cord for your really long things, like if you're making a shawl or if you're making a blanket. But it's a really sturdy cord too. I want to pull another one out here. Like the Chalgu Spins have a really, really thin cord, and that's great for magic loop, and it's really flexible. But sometimes I worry, like if I were to use a larger size of those, that maybe I'd break the cord. I don't know. So this one, I think this is the, might be 24. The thing about these is, I don't think it says the size on the cord itself. Like there's some companies where it'll say like 24 inches. Let me wind that one back up. But you have more than enough room to add more cords if you wish. The drawback for this is that the case is rather large. It has a very wide variety of needle sizes because it does start at a 4, but it'll cover most of your basic knitting, your afghans, your scarves, hats, all the way up to the chunky stuff, but it's a bigger case. It does fold up nice and compact. They have the, I don't know if you can see that, maybe that's a better picture. This is the basket weave, and then they have the leather one. Folds right up. I must say it's smaller than the Complete Knitter's Pride Ginger set. Has a really large case. And then this is the small set, where like that could fit in a small yarn bag or even a purse. It looks just like, you know, a little pocketbook thing. It's the same type of case as the Umber, and then the Indigo, and there's another one out there, the brown one. But these are smaller tips. The advantage with these ones is that it does start at a size 3, but it goes all the way through 10.5. So this is good for your hats, your smaller stuff, baby items where you need that smaller circumference, or if you just prefer the shorter tip. The large set, if you need more to grab onto, that's a good set for those, but then you can't do the small stuff. Like these, you can go all the way down to a 16-inch cord, but the larger set, you have to use over 20 inches because it just wouldn't connect. But this is just a cute little case. You can, there's Velcro on the one side of it, so you can kind of sit your needles up a little bit, like if you want to be looking at them. It has a little bit less storage than the large set does. There's the little pocket up front, and that has all your cords, plus if you chose to get more, you can store them in there, and that's the same pink swivel cord. I think they're going to replace all of the Lykke cords with the swivel one. That's something that I heard from my local yarn store. One of the things with these blush sets is that they're really hard to find now. They came out in the US around sometime in March. Most retailers had them, but they were only given a few. So a local yarn store in my area only had 2 of the small set and 3 of the large, and they're back ordered now. You can find them maybe online by chance, but they're hard to find right now. I guess sometime later in the summer, more stores are supposed to have them. They're supposed to get restocked. But here is, I have a project on my size, are these 5s? No, these are my size 7s. Knitting a chemo cap. I figured I'd want pink and pink because the yarn is pink, black, and white, and some gray in there too. But it's really smooth. It has less grip than, of course, a metal knitting needle. So something like your Addi Turbos or ChowGoo, something like that. But it's still not as grabby as bamboo and some wooden needles. Now, I have not knitted outside with these, and I mentioned that because a couple summers ago I did use, it was a Knitter's Pride set, and they felt sticky in the summer heat, so I really prefer to use my metal needles in the summer. And a lot of people do, like the wooden needles, oh, it's warm for the winter or when it's cold. But I don't think that these would get so, they don't seem like they'd get really sticky out there. It's not a super, super sharp tip, but it isn't blunt either. Definitely not like a ChowGoo tip, but it's right middle of the road. Like any wood needle would be, like a Knit Picks, Knitter's Pride. Let me see if you can see it against. Is that a little bit better? They're not as sharp, pointy, but you can still do your decreases with them, no problem. Knit 2 together, knit 3 together, do your tricky increases, and it's really not a problem. I don't find that they come unscrewed from the cord if you use the tightening key. I flip-flop between these and my Addis, and it's weird with the Addis because those click in and you aren't having to tighten it. But every couple rows, I'll just check the connection on it, make sure it's not gonna come out and drop 50 stitches, but it's really secure. The taper on it, a lot of people like a really smooth taper. See if you can see. Does that make it better? Not really. Oh, the taper is all the way up here because it's the interchangeable. It's really smooth. You can barely feel it. I don't think any yarn would get stuck in there. There's not like a little hump like with the Addis, where you can definitely tell where Addi meets the connection because there's that little bump. Same type of connection as like a ChowGoo. It's same concept, really, really smooth. Because what can happen with interchangeables is if it loosens at that connection, you can get a stitch right in there. And then sometimes it's hard to pull it out, especially if you're working with like a lace yarn. But they're quieter than metal needles. You know, the clicking can be annoying to some, but they're really quiet. They're really smooth. I don't feel like I'm having to push the yarn. It has just enough grip where you're not going to drop 100 stitches, but it has just enough smoothness where you can just keep going and going and knitting. If you have smaller hands, the 3.5 inches might work better. Or if you like more to grip, the 5 inches could be better. That 1.5 inches really does make a difference, but at least there's more differentiation between the short tips and the long tips, because as you might know, ChowGoo's short tips are 4 inches and the long tips are 5 inches, where it makes a difference, but not a huge difference. It just depends on how you knit and how you're comfortable, what your grip is like. If some people don't like the smaller tips because there's less to, if your hand tends to grip the cord, then you might, you know, cramp up. But these fit just enough. There's enough like tension with the cord where it's thick enough where I feel like I can grab onto that. Something like the shorter, any like Addy tips that are shorter, or what else am I thinking of? Like the ChowGoo spin tips, the short ones. Sometimes I feel like I'm clamping down on that cord that has so much give and is so flexible that I'm cramping up my hands, where you can really, really squeeze it that way. But I like these. I think this is one of few, if the only video of just a customer reviewing the, what do you call these, the Lykke Blush set. There was a yarn store that did a video when they first got them in, but it wasn't really a review. So yeah, these should be more widely available soon. But they're a really cool gift. The small set is easy, grab and go for travel. The large set isn't way too big. You could put that in your luggage. All your stuff is in there. Put some stitch markers, a pair of scissors, a measuring tape, and you're good to go for pretty much any project. You can get the tips separately. If you're someone like me who might have a couple projects that are using a particular size, you can get the separate tips. The good thing about the Lykke cords is that they're pretty inexpensive. They're like, I want to say less than $5 a piece, so that can be a huge difference if you're used to buying the interchangeable cords for other brands. Like Addy can run, gosh, probably like at least $8 to $10 to $12 depending on how long of a cord you're looking for and where you're buying it from. But it's just flexible enough where it isn't going to coil up in that packaging, but yet it's going to be smooth enough where you're not going to feel like, you know, you're having to uncoil it. But yeah. This is my review of the both Lykke Blush sets.